Hello, my name is Joe McCrea and I'm the Associate Director of Communications at North Staffordshire Combined Healthcare NHS Trust.
And I'm Becky Chubb, I'm one of the Deputy Directors in the community.
Okay, and welcome to the boardroom in our Trust headquarters at Lawton House. A few years ago, we invested in a fantastic facility to introduce a complete new digital production and digital studio facility, which we are standing in here. We've been building up the use of it and the approaches we can exploit by this investment. And we're here today to tell you about 2 or 3 of those. Starting with an idea that we've got, which we are calling Combined Minds. Becky, what's Combined Minds?
So, Combined Minds is an idea loosely based on the concept of TED Talks. Now, many of you, I'm sure, will have seen TED Talks. They're widely available, and the idea behind them is really that it's a short, snappy presentation where people get to present and share an idea, an innovation, or just something that they feel really passionate about, but in quite a short, snappy format. So, what it is, as TED themselves say, it's based on the concept of being an idea that's worth spreading, and that's really broad. That can be anything you think is worth spreading, really. It's about sharing knowledge and research that matters, and as I say, it's something unique about the format of it that's very short. It's not like an hour-long lecture, it's short, snappy content. And generally speaking, they're up to 18 minutes. Many of them are shorter than that. They're edited lightly but carefully. And what they say is that all of that editing shouldn't detract away in any way from the overall meaning that you want to get across from your talk. So, we've already got some people in the Trust who are really excited about the concept of doing this. So we've got Helen Sweeney, for example, who would like to do a talk on health inequalities. We've also got Dr. Sarah Lunt, who wants to do a talk on psychological safety, and our very own Georgian Nimra, who would like to think about neuropsychiatry of cognitive disorders.
Okay, so that's Combined Minds, our very own version of TED Talks. And as you can see, we've already got some of our clinicians interested in there. And we see this as one particularly good platform for us to be able to give some profile and some publicity to the incredible amount of clinical knowledge and clinical insight that is held within our senior clinicians here at Combined. But I mentioned we wanted to talk about 2 or 3 things. Combined Minds is only one of a suite of things we've been introducing. And here they are. So we have Combined Minds. We also have CTV, Combined Television. CTV is our very own in-house digital TV station, and we'll be talking a little bit about that. Virtual reality is something which is becoming increasingly prescient and increasingly used as it moves from an idea or an innovation into real-world applications. And the recent introduction of the Apple Vision Pro is going to turbocharge that impact. And we've been proud to be innovating in CVR, combined virtual reality, for a long time now, and we'll be talking a little bit about that. And finally, we want to talk to you about a new initiative which is brand new. We've only just been trained on how to do that literally in the last couple of weeks, and that's Combined Touchscreen Training, CTT, so we'll be talking about this. So, if we start with CTV, what is CTV? Well, CTV, as you can see there from its strapline, is combined television, on-site, online, and on-demand. So, online, on-demand. And its simplest, CTV is available free from our Combined website, combined.nhs.uk, CTV. And when you go there, you'll see something that's very familiar to those of you who've got Apple TV or Netflix or any one of those set-top boxes. It's literally a series of curated content. Little bite-sized videos, something slightly longer. We've got, for example, if you want to relive our annual general meeting and all the proceedings and presentations there, you can do that. We have staff stories and service user stories, and we have spotlights on various areas. So that's the simplest way of accessing the content on CTV, online, on demand, for free from our website. But I did say we've been investing over recent years in channels and technology, and one of the things we're particularly proud of is CTV within our Harplands hospitals. So those of you who are familiar with Harplands, our reception, above Harplands reception, we have a giant screen that is showing CTV content. The content itself is managed centrally by the comms team and distributed and updated weekly. But that's one area where we can showcase to people as they enter one of our main facilities the stuff that's going on in the trust. In recent weeks, we've also been rolling out CTV televisions to our individual locations. Now, these are being rolled out into public areas in all of our wards, but just importantly, across our community locations. We have nearly 30 locations scattered around the community in North Staffordshire and Stoke-on-Trent. And it's really important that we're able to have content in there that makes them feel part of the family and that they can see themselves reflected in the stuff we're doing. So we work with them to do content, and increasingly we have dedicated TVs throughout all of our community locations, as well as headquarters here and the acute wards. Now, CTV is not just films. We've actually invested and built our very own entirely digital studio, CTV studio. You're looking here to a physical studio. We also have an entirely digital one, and we can place any speaker within that digital studio. So those of you familiar with how the BBC does Match of the Day or Sky does Sky News, we can do the same thing. We've got an entirely digital CTV studio where our presenters and our staff can really get some impact from the stories that they're telling. CTV also, we do films for events. Those of you who are at our Reach Awards, our staff awards a few years ago, we actually had a personal message from Robbie Williams, and we were able to broadcast a live performance of Robbie in the background with the Deaf Links Choir from Stoke-on-Trent, an amazing deaf choir. And that was all produced and is still available on CTV on catch up. And so to sum up, CTV can have service users and staff stories. It can have spotlights on programmes and projects and initiatives. It can have live streams and recordings of events. We're very proud that our monthly trust board is live streamed directly from this room and then available on catch up afterwards. So you can see the chief executive's report, the chair's report, the proceedings, all of it via CTV on our website. And two new initiatives we're introducing. We're looking to do CTV panel shows. So using this facility here, we will be able to place people around a sofa or a TV or a table, and they can have their own panel show discussion. We're going to be doing this. And of course, as we're actually unveiling in this presentation for the very first time, CTV is going to be one of the channels by which we're made to make available for free Combined Minds talks. So that's CTV. Now, let's move on to combined virtual reality, CVR. And here I'd like to introduce Becky and invite her to give you a description of what CVR is, particularly as it was from an initial idea that Becky had almost 2 years ago, in fact over 2 years ago, that led to the creation of combined virtual reality. Becky.
So my experience of using virtual reality started with what was a clinical frustration, a niggle if you like, and that was with my liaison hat on. I found myself seeing a lot of delirium in the hospital, and my frustration was that despite mandatory training and PowerPoint presentations and everything that staff have to do, the kind of message about delirium just didn't seem to be getting through, and particularly the aspect of trying to get staff to really care about it and understand what delirium really is and what it might be like. So, following a conversation with Joe and the comms team, we came up with the idea of creating a virtual reality film. It's really short, it only lasts about 5 or so minutes, so it's super easy to get staff to use. And what's really unique, although we didn't realise it was unique at the time, is that when you wear the virtual reality headset and you watch the film, we set it up so that you become the patient. So literally in front of you is a hospital bed with a pair of legs, which is actually a pillow. And with the headset, you can look around the medical ward. Then what we did was take my knowledge of delirium and some real life patient stories about hallucinations or delusions that patients have told me about over the years, and then with some technical wizardry, which was nothing to do with me whatsoever, that again was our comms team, they then superimposed that onto the film. And so what you get is a true experience of what it could be like to experience an episode of delirium. We launched it on World Delirium Awareness Day a couple of years ago, and we took it around the wards in Royal Stoke, and the feedback we had was amazing, wasn't it? There were staff who literally said to us they'd been working with patients with delirium for decades but had never truly appreciated what that experience might be like for that person in that hospital bed. So that's initially where we took it, and it's really taken off from there. So we've also partnered up with some colleagues in other countries. So for example, the film has now also been translated and is now being used in Denmark, which is fantastic.
And I understand we've also had interest from the Netherlands and from Germany as well.
Yep.
And it is just fantastic. So we are very proud. We're very proud of our first foray into virtual reality. But of course, that got us thinking about what else could we do with virtual reality. So CVR hasn't just stopped there. So one of the things which we're doing is we have now done virtual reality walkthroughs of all of our locations. Again, all of these are available for free on our website, and you don't need a virtual reality headset to look at them, or indeed to experience the VR delirium training. You can actually watch them just on a browser. They're all available. You won't get the full immersive experience, but you will still be able to see the material. So here, for example, we have what's called a doll's house of one of our locations, and what we're being told is that it is particularly beneficial to service users before they come in, or indeed their families, who might have lots of myths and misconceptions about what a modern mental health hospital looks like, and can be reassured when they can see the actual standards and quality of the facilities into which they or their loved ones are going. Of course, it's not just beneficial for service users, it's also beneficial for our staff. So here you can see Chloe. Now, Chloe was actually in this room, and here what you can see here is we put her own workplace up in front of her on the room. She couldn't believe when she put a virtual reality headset on, it was the first time she tried it. She says, I am literally standing in the place where I work. It's like I'm there. And now Chloe was very interesting. Chloe said, this will really help reduce DNAs, do not attends. She says, because if people can see the facility they're coming into and see that it's not frightening and see that it's welcoming, it might have a beneficial effect on DNAs. And that's something we want to look at, because of course, there's no point in just applying technology for the sake of it. It's got to really benefit our patients and our service users. And if it can actually help with our efficiency in reducing DNAs, that's absolutely fantastic. Now, also, CVR, we also produce films and testimonials from our own staff. So those of you who are around for the 75th anniversary of the NHS, we created a multimedia exhibition, which we called Mental Health Reflections. It was over 40 films featuring our staff, some of them talking about their history of the NHS, some of them talking about what the present was like. We had a fantastic presentation for yourself, didn't we, Becky, reminiscing about the impact of the first few weeks of COVID, but also looking at their vision of an NHS of the future. And again, that was available in virtual reality, all of those formats, and you can go to www.combinednhs.uk/reflections. You can either download the book, or you can watch the film, or you can experience it in virtual reality. And that's another example of what we've been doing with CVR. And finally, there's a very interesting piece of pilot work that's going on at the moment at the Trust, looking at how potentially we could use virtual reality to help with staff wellbeing. This is about helping staff who've had to cope with a very stressful experience or a traumatic experience, and taking them out of that immediate environment and just sitting them down, putting a virtual reality headset on and giving them a very short, immersive, calming VR experience, no more than 5 minutes or so. And we've been trialling this, and we've been doing this in partnership. So this has been trialled at the moment, the first stage pilot, with our staff in PICU, our psychiatric intensive care unit. And thank you very much to all of our staff there who've been involved in that. And this was being done by Rob Silito within our team, but we've been working with Zilla Watson, fantastic visionary, who was formerly the head of virtual reality at the BBC. So we've had some real expert input into the design of this. Now, we've just finished the assessment of the first pilot, and the assessment of that first pilot said of the 32 staff that took part, 29% said it reduced their stress levels. And overall, they had a score that went down from 7 to 3 in the levels of stress they were experiencing. And Zilla tells us that that accords with other experiences they've done with similar pilots in other settings. So we're confident that it can have a benefit. And even of the 3 who didn't report a reduction, every single person said they would recommend that virtual experience to a friend. So we're just completing the analysis of the first phase of that, the first pilot phase, and then looking at how we might roll that out. So that's combined virtual reality. So now we'd like to tell you about CTT, combined touchscreen training. Myself and Becky were sat and were trained on how to create content for this last week, and I have to say it's
amazing.
It was something quite good, wasn't it?
It really is.
And so we're going to do something a little bit risky here, rather than actually just do a film and show you some extracts we're going to do. We're actually going to do this live and show you combined touchscreen training in reality. And we're able to do that because if you just look up at the top here, you can see these little boxes up here. They're actually lasers, and what they're doing is they're projecting a laser mesh across the whole of this area, and it turns the whole thing touchscreen. And we want to show you what that enables us to do. Here we are in a virtual environment. I said that we'd done virtual walkthroughs of all locations. We could have chosen any of them. We're actually sitting here within Ward 3. Okay, and I just want to show you the sort of things we can do. These little buttons here, you can see these are little hotspots. And I want to give you an example of the type of things we can now do to give you an idea of the art of the possible, and perhaps generate some ideas and thinking. So here, for example, we have a little exit area there. You might want to say, well, what do I do here when I want to exit? If you exit that, you would get a message. Well, you haven't been discharged yet. So when training our service users, when training our staff about the procedures that need to follow, it'd be, well, don't try and discharge people until you've gone through the correct procedures. Okay. The other thing we can do is we can embed within here videos. So, for example, here we are. We're looking at Ward 1 and 3. If you look at that, then we can sit there, and for the people in the room, they can actually watch our promo video of Ward 1 and Ward 3. This could also be a little video of a welcoming message, for example, from the ward manager, etc. But this basically is a really impactful way in which we can put somebody into a virtual environment and teach them a little bit about it. Okay, but of course it's not just about passive content. Okay, we want to involve the UCs for training and education. So if I just click here, we're going to leave Ward 3, and hey presto, we are in Harpland's reception, and we're going to have a little bit of fun here. So, Becky, I have some questions for you. Okay, So let's just try a few things and explain, get a little bit more information to the people watching this about CTT. So, question number 1. Okay, now, how much does it cost the Trust to create one of these experiences? And to just give you some context, we did do a little bit of market research. We're doing this all entirely in-house. If we were to procure one of these experiences on the commercial market, we're looking at possibly between £5,000 to £10,000 a time. So that's what we're looking at.
Yeah.
£5,000 to £10,000 a time.
Yep. Hefty.
How much does it cost us to create a new CTT experience?
Well, given that, they all seem a bit of a bargain, but there's a lot of tech involved, so I'm going to try and wrongly select 1,000.
And for those of you who see there, it came up green to say 0. That's because we've invested in-house in the skills, we've invested in the technology. We can create CTT experiences at no extra cost to the Trust other than staff time, compared with £5,000 to £10,000 on the commercial market. Let's just ask another one. So Becky,
yes,
we know that each time it doesn't cost us something to do it. But then, okay, so licensing. Okay, it doesn't cost us anything, but how many are we actually allowed to create? How many CTT experiences could the Trust actually create?
I've no idea, but I'm going to guess it's not unlimited, so I'm just going to pick 100.
And you're wrong, because it is unlimited. Okay, so not only can we create these at a very, very low cost, we're also not constrained by the amount of ones that we can do. Okay, so we know that it doesn't cost us very much to create these things, and we know there's no limit to the amount that we can do. Question then, okay then, who it's open to? Is it going to be clinical teams only, corporate teams only? Is it going to be senior directors, or can everybody have a go?
Well, I know as clinicians we can definitely use it, so I'm going to say probably, I reckon, anyone can.
And that's correct. So, basically, what we know about what we know about CTT, it doesn't cost us an awful lot to create them. We're not constrained by licensing on the amount of them, and it's open to everybody. So if you're watching this and you're working combined and you think, I've got a really good idea, then you can contact us. Now, of course, when you contact us, there's some things we'd like to have from you. No such thing as a free lunch. So, this is a multi-choice. What do we actually need in order to start agree to create a CTT experience?
Okay, and this one I can select as many as I want,
right? As many as you want.
Okay, definitely going to need a title. You're going to need some sort of time frame, otherwise people like me will just get carried away. You're going to need a description. You're going to need a lead, aren't you? You're probably going to need some sort of confirmation of budget, so I'm going to select them all. Okay,
well, let's just give it a check. Well, all of them, apart from the budget, because we can manage that internally with our own resources. Okay, so there we go. So I hope that gives you an idea of the type of things we can do with these screens. Finally, I understand you've been talking to some people. Is that correct?
I have. Yep.
So I'm going to have a little look here about which organisations have already said they'd like to work with us on a CTT experience, okay? I'm looking here, we've got 4 random ones: the police, the fire and rescue service, UHM, ICB. I'm going to say, yeah, okay, the police and maybe fire and rescue. Okay, are they interested in us? UHM, ICB, not sure. Is this emergency services? It's not. Let's give it an idea. Let's just check. Okay.
So actually, there's a new project that I have in the pipeline, which the whole concept is about trying to help non-mental health staff understand a mental state examination and help us all kind of speak the same language. And as Joe found out there, we've already got police, fire and rescue and social care, along with UHM, who are really interested in working with us on that.
Okay, and we're just going to show one final example of what you can do with CTT. This example isn't actually built by us, this has been built by somebody else, but it gives you a real idea of where we can really go with this, particularly in terms of staff induction and staff training, clinical training. So for this, we're going to leave this all together, and we're going to go do a little bit of fun, which is called the Room of Errors. So what this is about is, this is basically about, there are special items out of pleasure in this virtual ward, okay? And the idea is tap on them to correct them and find the ones that are out of place or causing a problem. And we're against the clock. Now, I am not a clinician, so I'm not even going to attempt this, but I am going to have some fun. I think, Becky, you're going to suggest where I can run and tap, and let's see the sort of things that you might see.
Okay, so I'm going to say there's some rubbish on the side there, so I'd pick that,
Yep, patient's rubbish.
Yep.
The ward should be clear of waste.
I don't like that commode being there because that looks like a major trip fall hazard to me.
Okay. Yep, commode. No object should obstruct the patient's exit from the bed.
Fab. And I don't think that inhaler should have been left on a tray.
Right, so let's try the inhaler. That. Yep, you're correct. MDR, all medication should be locked away.
And then the last one that's obvious to me is that spillage down there.
Okay. Yep, all spills will be cleared up immediately. Now, so you get the idea. So that is where we get our new facility for introducing combined touchscreen training. We're literally at the first days of this, but we were really, really excited about that. So that is combined touchscreen training. So to conclude, what we've looked at here, we've looked at 4 things. We've looked at Combined Minds, our own TED Talks. We've looked at CTV, our digital TV station. We've looked at combined virtual reality, our CVR, and we've looked at combined touchscreen training. Those have all been built up over the course of the last 2 years. And as we've been able to bring more facilities and more technology on board, we're able to really take a big leap. But although they're 4 separate things, but slightly interrelated, there is something that is common to all of them. And the things that are common to all 4 of these things, all are unique to combined. We are fairly convinced that we are amongst a handful of trusts, if not the only trusts, who are at this stage of development of our exploitation, of innovation, of digital innovation, of interactivity, and of virtual reality. They're all delivered entirely in-house. So as we looked here, you know, the NHS is under extreme financial pressure at the moment, and because of the investment that we've made, we're able to deliver this to our staff and service users at unprecedented value for money. And they are available to you, our teams and clinicians, for free. So if you're just watching this online, or if you're watching this in an event, and you are interested and you're inspired by what we've been able to show you today, then we'd like you to get in touch and discuss with us about how we can work together. And so I guess our final call to action at the end of this first edition of Combined Minds is a very simple one. It's across to you. Thanks for listening.